So first of all, dear friends, especially those of you who remained here until the end, thank you. Thank you for remaining. But of course, all of those who came and participated, I am grateful that you came and that you contributed with your knowledge, with your experience, with a generous heart in our discussions that we had, and that's highly, highly valuable. Secondly, I would like to touch a bit upon the nature of our friendly conversation that we have had today, and I hope we will continue to have. I think for the most part, we could all feel that it was indeed a friendly conversation. A conversation based on trust and just a generous friendship that we feel towards each other. Of course, when some questions arise that are a bit more sensitive and we express our opinions in maybe some more expressive ways, and of course always imperfect ways, because we always, I think, our views are imperfect, we always have things to learn. Maybe the friendly conversation felt like a heated debate, but I think even though the conversation at that time felt like a more heated debate, it still was a conversation among friends who generally want to understand each other, who wish well to each other, and who want to grow in knowledge together, and who realize their own imperfections. And I thank you for that. I wish that this kind of conversation, friendly conversation, continues among us. I want to say that it is relatively easy to have such a friendly conversation because there is already some experience of friendship among most of us. I know that you don't know each other, all of you. I know all of you. But there are some commonalities and some friendships already. So it is not so difficult to have a friendly conversation, even on difficult topics. But when we discuss these issues with the world outside, we may find it much more difficult to maintain our conversation on this kind of generous, friendly level. And at that time, I think what Bojan reminded us, I think, is very important. We need to understand that, and I now go back to Charles Taylor and his distinction between secular 1, 2, and 3. I think it is important that all of us realize that we no longer live in a world where the Christian view is the dominant narrative. Maybe, in some parts of Slovakia, in some parts of Romania, locally, it still is. Locally. But generally speaking, it is not. But, and here I want to come back to Kamil's point, the way I distilled it from his approach. We should not be afraid to think boldly about our Christian identity and the core values that we want to maintain and cherish and develop, and even witness about. But we need to understand that we are just one of the voices in a larger public discourse, not the normative one. We are just one of the voices, but a voice that we feel very strongly about, a voice that needs to be voiced, needs to be spoken, needs to be heard. And we should not let the society chase us into monasteries and churches and where we will have our small discourses, but we will not dare to sort of witness openly. So there is this tension. In a sense, we are exclusivistic theologically, but in another sense, we want to learn to be humble, and we need to be humble, and we need to accept that we are one of the voices in a society that is no longer Christian in Europe. there are other contexts where Christianity was never the normative voice, and maybe there it's easier. Yeah. So somehow I want to encourage all of us to remember both foci, yeah, to remember both imperatives. Bojan's imperative, or the one that he reminded us, but also sort of what Kamil represented in his lecture, in his presentation, this kind of Christian boldness, yeah, this prophetic criticism of what he believes are very evil tendencies, evil ideologies. Somehow we need to learn how to mix it well, yeah, in the larger social discourse. So I'm grateful that we could experience both, and we could somehow, in the following conversation, obrusiť hrany. There is this good expression in Slovak. We could smooth the edges a bit and, you know, come closer to the center. I think that's important. Yeah, so thank you. There is much, much more to learn, much more to know, much more to discuss in the future sessions, hopefully. But for now, thank you. And I think we all deserve a good applause and then a good dinner that is waiting for us.
Yeah.
So friends, wonderful. Thank you all. Let's go together.